doctor name in front of them. So, of course, uh, many of them have completed their dissertation, but still beyond that, there are areas where they pursue minor research or even the professional research. I'm currently doing as a professional researcher for past 10 years. So it is continuously evolving process and there is no end to it. Now, having said that, we are talking about two types of research here for the social science as well as for science. Okay, we will get into the detail, but let's start with the very basic. Okay, what Einstein said. Okay, in finance, let me explain you. We used to talk about three types of risks. Okay, known, second is known unknown, and third is unknown unknown. Okay, so unknown is a very high risk. Okay, so known unknown can be managed. Say for example, when India will attack Pakistan. So we know that India will attack, so that is a known. But when they will attack, it is unknown. So it is a known unknown. But in research, okay, I'm not saying you go into unknown, although a lot of researcher, they go into unknown, which is exploratory kind of research. We will talk about it. One of my colleague is working on ants for past 30 years in, in Japan, okay, just to understand the behavior of ants. So in our academic research, we have to conduct something which we call in a known unknown sphere. Okay, but if you are doing your research in a known sphere, then would it be a research? Absolutely not. Okay, and the paradox is that while we submit our research proposal, we have to come out with the hypothesis. A hypothesis is nothing but the outcome of your dissertation. So many a time one has to ask the question that how can you estimate, judge, or guess the outcome even before you have, started your work. So keep it very simply. The research has to be done into known unknown, which is reasonably safe, which can yield reasonably valid results, okay, or outcome. Because in the sphere of research, two things are very important. Please make a note of it. One is a reliability and second is a validity. Okay, if any one of these two parameters are compromised, then the research becomes junk. And I have seen many doctoral dissertations in India. You are compelled to give them, the degree of philosophy, doctor of philosophy degree. But quality research, if you have to produce a quality research, then your two parameters of reliability and validity has to stand very tall. Okay, so we are talking about known unknown. Okay, now let's go to the academic research. There are two types of researches, applied and academic. Okay, we will focus probably 60-65% on the academic, and then we'll also come on to the applicatory research. Now, according to the UGC ordinance, the guidelines, okay, the academic research can be, carried out in a geography where there are long-standing problems. This is what, Union HRD Minister in 2011, Dr. Kapil Sibbal, I'm not sure he's doctor or not, but Kapil Sibbal, when he was a minister of HRD, this directive was given to all the vice chancellors that any specific area having any problem, the university should make an effort to conduct a doctoral research on that particular area so that problem can be solved. Okay, so the research can be very diverse in nature. The UGC ordinance does not stop you from doing a PhD on alien. Okay, provided that you have to complete in 5 years. Either you meet alien or you don't meet alien. Okay, so there is no boundary to the imagination or the topic that you select. What is more interesting in academic research? अरे बोलू नका रे background मध्ये मेरे को आपकी आवाज आती है, मेरी
आपका आवाज
लिंक फंसेगी
इको हो रहा है।
तो वो मुकेश अंबानी को कॉल करो, वो जियो का प्रॉब्लम होगा। सबको इको हो रहा है क्या?
Sir, it is clear, sir.
Sir, excuse me, sir. I had one question. Is it okay if I ask it? I was trying to raise my hand, but
Absolutely,
the
you
app
can
doesn't.
ask. No problem. You
Sir,
can
you
ask.
mentioned about you mentioned about validity and reliability. How
Yeah.
are these two different from each other?
Okay, I will explain. Good that you asked. I think you are second or third student or participant who asked this question. I will explain you in the latter part of it. See, to make it what you call in a very simplistic or layman terms, you are Brian, right? What's your name?
Yes, yes, I'm
After
Brian.
Brian. Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
you have a friend. Okay, you have a close friend, and there is certain urgency. You are not in town, and you call your friend and say that, please go and pick up my son at exactly 3 p.m. from his school and send it over to his grandma's house. You are rest assured, because he is your very close friend, he will obey whatever you have instructed him, and without fail, he will fulfill his duties and obligation, and he does it so. Okay, and you are happy. He calls you at 3:30. He says that I have picked up your son and drop him at the grandma's house. So you will casually call him. He's a very reliable person. I give him many tasks, and he is very reliable, because while he's conducting his task, I don't have to worry about ifs and buts and other issues while he's doing the task. I'm not going to call him and say, hey, have you reached the school? Have you picked him up? Have you dropped? No, because you call him reliable. Now, in research, the word reliability slightly differs from our general conversation. Okay. In general conversation, we say reliable means which we can trust on. Okay. That's what we call reliable. Okay. In research, the reliability also links to the trust, but not that so-called societal perception of the trust, but rather the work conducted by the researcher. So the researcher who is putting forward the work in front of you, you have a reasonable level of confidence that this work can be relied upon. मतलब हिंदी में इसके ऊपर भरोसा कर सकते हैं, इसने फर्जीवाड़ा नहीं किया है, क्योंकि रिसर्चर तो घर में बैठ के काम कर रहा है या लेबोरेटरी में काम कर रहा है। आपके पास 2000 माइल के बाद उसका थीसिस आपके पास आया हुआ है, आप देख रहे हो उसका पेपर या थीसिस, and you say that yes, this can be reliable. Now again the question arises, the perception of reliability changes from person to person. So your second question should be, sir, how I can validate the accuracy or the reliability of the reliability? So there are no such tools available, but given the subject and the domain and the statement of problem and the method and the tools which are incorporated in the research, the reliability can be ascertained. Now, even complex issue is that of validity, because you can't only say the research is reliable. No, it cannot be judged on a singular parameter. It has to be always biparametric. That means validity and reliability. If any of this is absent, then research probably is of low quality. I'm not saying it is of bad quality or garbage quality, but then the question mark arises. Now, the second parameter of validity is very important. And the good news is that validity can be ascertained by using certain tools. Okay. Now, many a time, a good topic, a good researcher using inadequate tools or improper tools, I wouldn't use the word wrong tools, inadequate or improper tool, leads to the question of validity. Now the question is, what are these tools? Of course, these tools we are using in a day-to-day research life, be they are the scientific equipments while conducting the research, be those are the statistical tests, and even at the bottom level, at the entry level, we can say the design. The design is flawed, so the validity questions arises. It is not that it becomes invalid. Kindly keep in mind, the outcome of research never becomes invalid. It's only question upon its validity, and hence it is linked to the reliability. So the linkage is from validity to reliability. If it is valid, then high chances of being reliable. Okay, but if it is, say, 95% reliable, then the chances of validity cannot be ascertained. So validity is independent of the reliability. Okay, if it is reliable, that doesn't mean it has to be valid. But if it is valid, then probably it could be reliable. So the state is that way. So आपको समझ में आया क्या ब्रायन मैंने क्या बोला?
Yes, I think I was looking at it from the prism of my own subject, which is theoretical.
Yeah.
So I mean, where validity and reliability probably get encompassed in the proof itself. So yeah, I get what you're
Absolutely.
saying,
Now,
that when you're working.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the theoretical or descriptive kind of research, then these two dimensions become quite tricky to test. Okay. Say, for example, one of my students is doing a doctoral dissertation on Pandit Rabindranath Tagore. Okay. Now, that thesis or that presentation goes to, say, somebody in Cambridge, UK. Now, if he has to go through this work to the prism of validity and reliability, probably, I'm not saying it will be difficult. It won't be impossible. It will be slightly challenging unless that person is familiar with the works of Rabindranath Tagore. So in a descriptive, good that you mentioned this point. In descriptive and in social science, the validity, reliability becomes a quite challenge. Because, see, we are a very diverse country. I come from Nagpur, Vidarbha area. Okay. We also have Marathwada, we also have Konkan, we also have North Maharashtra and the Western Maharashtra. So within our own state, there is so much diversity is that if somebody is working, there was one girl, she was working on, I think, Bahinabai. Those who are from Marathwada, they will know. Bahinabai was a composer. She used to compose OV. OV means short, what you call short literature, and the purpose of is to create awareness among the illiterate people in those days. Now, I'm not familiar with Bahinabai. Okay, so when it comes to checking of her validity and reliability, a person having familiar knowledge, number one will be her guide, because the fulfillment of the work is certified by the guide itself, and then probably the examiner who is going to conduct the viva voce or examination for that part. So theoretical में ये definitely challenge आता है, absolute challenge आता है. That's why if you ask me, scientific research or the research related to science is more easier than, you know, I also now migrated to social science. Okay, but I often see that science का जो research होता है, it becomes quite easy to quantify and to be tested for validity and reliability. Okay, so what I was telling earlier, the academic research or the UGC ordinance, not only in India, but all other national bodies governing the research in various parts of the world, we have to use word research. फिर से खोजिए. Now, the beauty of this is that in academic research and even sometimes in applicatory research also, say somebody has done some work in 1985 to 1995. Okay, I go look at that gentleman's thesis. Everything is same. I simply take the same topic, okay, and I change the data. I don't even change the design. I don't even change the sample. I only change the time series data. I will get different outcome. Because from 1995 to 2025, income level has gone up. Okay, that is a rule of nature. It has to go up because you are richer than your father was richer than your grandfather, and grandfather was richer than great-great-grandfather. So it is a law of evaluation. So I'm talking here in terms of economics only. And even well-being also. So according to time series, this data will definitely on the northern side of the scale. So I will get different. I often talk about the dowry in Maharashtra because I'm familiar with the societal landscape of Maharashtra. In certain parts of Maharashtra, dowry was very hot issue in 80s, late 80s, probably early 90s. Today, no. So student asked me, sir, if can we do it on dowry? I said UGC allows you to do it on dowry. But what is important today for gender? It is Me Too, sexual harassment, gender equity. These are the current trends. So if you are taking a data from 1980 and 1990 on dowry and trying to compare it today, of course, the number of cases, I'm talking only Maharashtra, okay? Of course, cases have dropped, reported cases. So you may get a very different picture. But the emerging topics are the Me Too movement, the sexual violence and other issues. So topic has to be current. While doing the RE, we have to make sure that the topic doesn't, uh, you know, uh, I wouldn't say validity, but its appeal should stand in the society. Okay, then it makes sense. So put it very simplistically, the research means finding answer to questions in an organized, logical and systematic fashion. अगर आप मुझे पूछोगे तो रिसर्च एक सबसे आसान तरीका है किसी भी चीज को एड्रेस करने का या उसका आउटकम ढूंढने का, प्रोवाइडेड आप ऑर्गेनाइज, लॉजिकल और सिस्टमैटिक तरीके से वो करो. आई एम अ बैचलर, ओके, आई एम 55 years of old. मेरे यहाँ बहुत लोग काउंसिलिंग के लिए आते हैं, although I am not expert on that, but I simply tell them, whenever you have arguments with your wife, husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, try to write, maintain a diary. किस दिन को झगड़ा हुआ, झगड़े की वजह क्या थी, झगड़ा कितने दिन चला और झगड़ा कैसे सुलझा. You plot that data for 3 months and all you will see is a repetition of that data because nobody wants to solve the problem. So problem persists and the cycle continues. So anything that you plot, okay, in a logical, organized and systematic fashion, you will come to the what you call finding. Try to find, I wouldn't say you will come to the conclusion, but loosely we can call it a conclusion. So hence in research, it is said that it may or may not lead you to the truth. Apparently, the second paradox is that many a time I see in professional research and in doctoral research, academic research, they either accept all the hypotheses or reject all the hypotheses, and they say that it is perfect. No, 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 it is not. It is not. It is a very loose interpretation. Academically, wo chalta hai, but none of the dissertation will give you the truth. It will take you one step closer. So say for example, सौम्यश्री त्रिपाठी कुछ काम करती है, फिर अमनदीप कौर उसको आगे लेके जाते हैं, फिर निखिल अटाले और आगे लेके जाते हैं, फिर ब्रायन आगे लेके जाएगा. So it is a evolving. Okay, so never have this thought in your mind that my research, conclusion of my research and finding of my research is the end. No, it is a new beginning. Okay, and as I said earlier, it should address long-standing problem. We have high temperature, we have drought, we have pollution, okay, agriculture yield issues, traffic congestion, high levels of stress, so on and so forth. So these are the fears. Now, where we started as a human being, where we started finding answers to the questions. We started searching for the truth. It came from three things: tradition, customs, and authority. You go and study the history of evolution of human beings. Okay, you see how the Greeks, how the Romans, how the Arabs, even in India, the zero that we have given, Okay, so it all started during that time. Okay, and the concept slowly, evolved, and then they formalized, and then we started accepting. The third one is again a very powerful uh, method. I wouldn't call it a method, but yeah, it is a tool where lot of things were invented based on the personal experience. Okay, so can anybody give me any example of any finding out of personal experience? कोई example? आप में से कुछ लोग तो टीचर भी हो गए ना यार. आपको कोई एग्जाम्पल है पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस से कोई बहुत बड़ा इन्वेंशन हुआ है दुनिया में? हाँ बोलिए नेहा हसन. Any example? You can be wrong. Be courageous to speak. There is nothing right and wrong. Don't go into that trap. आइजैक न्यूटन का क्या हुआ था? The apple fell from the tree, right? He experienced that phenomena, right? And then the concept of gravity came over the period, right? What about Archimedes principle? Can anybody tell me Archimedes principle क्या होता है? ये हमने 6, 7, 8 स्टैंडर्ड में पढ़ा है ना. It has I mean, it is not very scientific. Any primary, secondary kid know. Archimedes principle क्या है यार? बताओ तो. Anyone? Okay. So Archimedes, when he was taking a bath, वो उसने उसके बाथ टब में पानी भरा और वो जब बाथ में उतरा तो बाथ टब से जो पानी बाहर आया, he was puzzled. He said कि मान लो मेरा वजन 80 किलो है, तो बाथ टब से 80 किलो या उससे ज्यादा का पानी बाहर क्यों आया? Right? So basically he started thinking on that phenomena, and then came the principle of buoyancy and Archimedes principle, and that immediately led to the लोहे की नावें बनने लगी. उसके पहले लोग ये समझते थे कि लोहा पानी में डूब जाता है, तो जितनी भी पुरानी नेवी थी ये सब लकड़ी की नौका से चलती थी. आर्किमिडीज प्रिंसिपल होने के बाद टाइटैनिक जैसी बड़ी बड़ी नौका है, या ये आपका INS विराट वगैरह जो अभी खड़ा किया है. So when you see a big ship standing in the middle of ocean, you should immediately correlate that yes, अगर ये शिप का वजन 10,000 टन है, तो ये 10,000 टन या उससे ज्यादा का पानी डिस्प्लेस कर दिए. Hence that ship is standing still on the surface of the ocean. So n number of things, मैडम क्यूरी, पेरी क्यूरी, आप साइंस में जाओगे तो n number of invention just purely came from personal experience. Okay, and then there is of course deductive reasoning which we will talk, and then scientific inquiry जो हम लोग इस्तेमाल करते हैं जब अपना रिसर्च करते हैं. Okay, so as a researcher, the imagination is your friend. You have to imagine. Okay, now I'm not saying कि somebody is imagining him sitting on a Harley Davidson with Katrina Kaif in the back. No, no, no. As a researcher, हमारा imagination हमारे field subject से related होना चाहिए, right? So you think, when कौन है वो आपका टेस्ला वाला, उसका नाम याद नहीं रहते, why he could make a Tesla very much different than the Chinese, and now why Chinese are making better cars than Elon Musk. So I tell you, I have a friend, his son, youngest son, he recently means just after COVID or something, he graduated from Georgia Tech University in US, and then वो typical लोगों में होता है, मारवाड़ी लोगों में, उसकी तुरंत शादी करा दी. सो ही वाज हियर. तो मैं उसको पूछा, व्हाट आर यू डूइंग, व्हाट आर यू वर्किंग? ही सेड एप्पल हायर्ड मी. मैंने कहा व्हाट इज योर जॉब? ही सेड आई एम वर्किंग ऑन अ प्रोजेक्ट to have a perpetual cell phone battery for the iPhone. मैंने कहा परपेचुअल का मतलब? वो बोले 1 साल ये बैटरी चलेगी, चार्ज करके 1 साल चलेगी, उसके बाद आपको 1 साल बाद चार्ज करना है. अभी जो हम दिन में 3 बार करते हैं ना. So he's still working on that project. So I became quite curious. So I asked him what is the budget, what and we all know, okay, I'm also an engineer. So we all know basic principles of battery, the nickel, cadmium, ये फलाना, फिर उसके बाद आपकी लिथियम आयन अभी आई है, लिथियम पॉलीमर आई हुई है. So this is KG1 standard of the battery. New battery, completely new. So imagination, right? Imagination. Imagine one pill. You take that pill and you are full for the whole day. ये pill बन चुकी है because people will consume it while going to the Mars. वहां पे आप हल्दीराम का भुजिया और दाबेली और खाकड़ा फाफड़ा लेके नहीं जा सकते, आपको पिल लेके जानी पड़ेगी. सो imagination, and that imagination has to be for the betterment and comfort of human beings by large. Just like, I don't know how many of you are familiar, डायबिटीज के लिए हम क्या लेते हैं? डायबिटीज के पेशेंट क्या लेते हैं?
इंसुलिन.
वो कैसा लेते हैं?
इंसुलिन.
कैसा लेते हैं?
शॉट्स.
लेते हैं.
इंजेक्शन लेते हैं, राइट? मेरे मामा, सगे मामा, उन्होंने इतने इंजेक्शन लिए कि उनके वहां जगह नहीं थी इंजेक्शन लेने. जर्मनी ने नया, अभी वो आ गया, 3 साल हो गए उसको, अभी इंडिया में भी मिल रहा है वो, ओरल इंसुलिन. ओरल इंसुलिन इट्स गुड. हम, मेरे उम्र के जो लोग हैं, हम लोगों ने वो टीके लिए. टीके हमने इंजेक्शन से लिए. अभी जो बच्चों को मिलते हैं, पोलियो के ड्रॉप्स मिलते हैं, पूरा वैक्सीनेशन ड्रॉप्स में चला गया है. सो यू मेक इट कंफर्टेबल फॉर द एंड यूजर. तो ऐसे अनगिनत एग्जाम्पल है, अनगिनत. सो एज ए रिसर्चर मैं तो कहूंगा इवन सोशल साइंस में भी आप इसे हम इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं. इमेजिन समथिंग कुड हैपन, व्हाट typically, I face difficulties because we work for policy formation of government of Maharashtra. So our imagination becomes sometimes too idealistic, and the bureaucrats and the politicians have a different vision because they are more driven by the availability of fund and not the outcome. That is the irony of the system. Anyway, but science वालों को ये बहुत ज्यादा काम कर, बहुत ज्यादा, right? So every researcher should have 10% of the brain locked into imagination area, because it will help you to drive yourself further. Okay, this is very simple. These are the 5 characteristics: systematic, logical, empirical, reductive, and replicable. Okay, I would focus more on first 2 because many a time I get angry when students put forward something, even a research paper or a professional research or even doctoral dissertation. लॉजिक इज इंपॉर्टेंट बिकॉज उसको हिंदी में तर्क कहते हैं, तर्क. आपको आपके आर्ग्यूमेंट में अगर तर्क नहीं होगा, सॉरी आर्ग्यूमेंट ही तर्क होता है, वो आर्ग्यूमेंट लॉजिकल, हाँ सही बात है, अगर आर्ग्यूमेंट लॉजिकल होगी तो इट मेक सेंस. ओके, बट अगर आप विदाउट आर्ग्यूमेंट उसको एज इट इज, विदाउट लॉजिक आर्ग्यूमेंट को एज इट इज आप ले रहे हो, then it has no meaning to it, right? So every research work should have incorporation of logical aspect. और logical का एक ही meaning है, asking question, right? वो नहीं कि हम जो 16 अप्रैल से रोज टीवी पे देख रहे हैं, वो नहीं, वो आपको खत्म करता है. वो नहीं जो आपको व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी में रोज भेजा जा रहा है ना. You must be asking questions, why, when, how, right? रिसर्च करते समय आपको ये इंकॉर्पोरेट करना है, स्पेशली जो डिस्क्रिप्टिव रिसर्च की बात होती है ना, राइट? साइंस में तो ऑफ कोर्स से फॉर एग्जांपल आपको वो भी मालूम होगा, हमको पहले बुखार लेते थे, हाँ, अभी क्रोसिन 8 आवर की आई है, राइट, बिकॉज मैं 2012 में इंडिया में वापस आया, तो आई कैन सी देयर इज 8 घंटे जाता है। फिर बचपन में हमारा नाक बंद हो जाता, तो अभी क्या वो ऑक्सीजन 25 सेकंड में नाक, राइट। सो these are the outcome of apply. So the question in the background was asked why. अप्लाइड रिसर्च में ये सब हमारे बेनिफिट के लिए हो रहा है, बट हम ये कह रहे हैं कि इवन फॉर सोशल साइंस रिसर्च, बट फॉर एवरी रिसर्चर फॉर दैट मैटर, द लॉजिकल एंगल हैज टू बी इंकॉर्पोरेटेड, अदरवाइज दैट डिग्री तो मिल जाती है, राइट। Then one has to be systematic, which I think everybody does it: planning, identification, designing, collecting, evaluation. That is perfectly fine. Okay, let's move. Now let's look at this. This was done by from, I think, girls BSc student in Vadodara. They published this and it caught my attention a couple of years ago. I think it was published in India, Gujarat edition. Women in nuclear family are more prone to diabetes. Study showed. So you become shocked. Is it generalizable? Answer is no. Is it specific to Gujarat? Answer is no. So when you read this completely, you know that it is only a part of the study. Vadodara में किया है. Now you will see their their sample was around 382. Okay, and most of them were vegetarians. Okay, and the age group was 49 to 58. अगर आप ये आर्टिकल पढ़ना कभी होगे तो आपको पता चलेगा. So what happens when people read the title news? बूंद बूंद को तरसेगा पाकिस्तान, टाइटल आ जाता है. तो वैसी ये जो टाइटल है ना, वो देख के लोग डर जाते हैं कि भैया न्यूक्लियर में रहेंगे तो हमको डायबिटीज होगा क्या. बट नीचे की कहानी है. अब ये बताने की वजह ये है, this is only based on a sample of 382. Okay, in urban areas where more and more nuclear families are living now, okay, traditionally we had a tradition of joint family. Why? Because we were an agrarian society. हम खेतों में काम करते थे, मिल के रहते थे. जैसे धीरे धीरे we started migrating to urban areas for the work, the families became nuclear. And then, of course, they somehow linked it to the poor lifestyle, food habits, stress, lack of exercise, so on and so forth. इसका हमने रिजल्ट जो था, नतीजा, वो कोविड के टाइम देखा था. इम्यूनिटी, जिसका इम्यूनिटी खराब है उसमें वायरस ने अटैक कर दिया. सो वी न्यू दैट सिंस 2019. Now these kind of studies, they are only for a specific geographical area or location, and they are true only during that period of time. These are not conclusive studies. Please keep it in mind as a researcher. ये conclusive नहीं है कि हर कोई अगर न्यूक्लियर में होगी तो उसको डायबिटीज होगा ना, right? So we will come little bit ahead. This is my favorite example. Okay, now there was a study which was published in a Nature of Communications in UK. And that study said that it found that needing to wear glasses is associated with higher level of intelligence. मतलब चश्मा लगाने वाले लोग intelligent होते हैं, ये उनका finding था. Okay, now this study was done by the University of Edinburgh. They took a sample of 300,000 people between the age of 16 to 102. Okay, and in UK they also gathered the genetic data from the biobank. वहाँ पे सबका genetic data वो लोग रखते हैं. So they took the blood sample. It is a very valid and reliable study. Okay, now after analyzing that, they found that there is a significant genetic overlap between cognitive function, जो हमारे brain का होता है, reaction time, and many health variables including eyesight, hypertension, and longevity. उनको ये पता चला, ये पूरे सैंपल में उनको ये ओवरलैप, जेनेटिक ओवरलैप दिखा. So specifically, people who were more intelligent were almost 30% likely to have genes which might indicate they would need to wear the glasses. अब मुझे आपसे एक सवाल पूछना है, लोग चश्मा लगाते हैं, मैं बच्चों की बात कर रहा हूँ, बूढ़ों को तो वो 40-45 के बाद वो पढ़ने के लिए लगता है। जो आपके बच्चे 10-12 साल से लेके 30 साल तक जो लोग होते हैं, ये चश्मा लगाते हैं, इसकी वजह क्या होती है? अरे आपके घर में भी कोई होगा ना जो चश्मा लगाता होगा। व्हाट इज द रीजन? मेन इशू क्या होता है वहां पे? क्यों लगाते लोग चश्मा? विषाद वाघमारे सांगा बरं, को चष्मा का लावतात?
For clear vision.
ऑफ कोर्स पुअर आईसाइट, राइट?
Yes, sir.
आईसाइट, हाँ, वो ज्यादा टीवी देख रहा है, कुछ कर रहा है, नंबर ऑफ रीजन। यहाँ क्या लिखा है? People who were more intelligent have 30% more likely to have genes which might indicate they need to wear the glasses. Now, please listen very carefully. Okay, just like diabetes, जिसको बोलते हैं जेनेटिक डिसीज है, ओके, राइट? देर आर, कैंसर को भी बोला जाता है, बट आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट दैट बिकॉज इट इज इवॉल्विंग कॉन्स्टेंटली। बट हम बोलते थे वो टक्कल, बाल झड़ जाना, कुछ जेनेटिक चीजें होती है, इसके दादा वैसे थे। सो you get genes from your parents. Okay, now what it says that one of the reason, 1/3 or close to 1/3, 30% would be genes. So your father is using eyeglasses right from the childhood, your mother is using, probability is that 30% chance that you will also do that, huh? And then they have used the word intelligent also. Keep in mind, okay, the intelligence genes ये पेरेंट्स से आते हैं। नाउ लॉट ऑफ पीपल विल डिबेट विथ मी, मेरे साथ बहुत लोग झगड़ते हैं कि सर ये क्या है, इंटेलिजेंस के जीन्स कैसे आते हैं? एपीजे कलाम साहब के माता पिता तो इंटेलिजेंट थे। फॉर दैट मैटर, I won't call myself intelligent, but I come from a very poor and humble and less educated family because that's how the India was. हम इवॉल्व हो रहे हैं, राइट? सो इंटेलिजेंस की जीन, नाउ वी कैन डिबेट अप टू इवनिंग अबाउट इंटेलिजेंस की जीन्स क्या होती है, बट यहाँ पे कोई अगर बायोलॉजी या न्यूरोलॉजी का कोई स्टूडेंट होगा, आप उनसे संपर्क करके जान लीजिए। जीन्स होती है जो एक इंटेलिजेंस इनहेरिट किया जाता है, राइट? आई ऑफन आस्क, ये आइंस्टाइन के अभी कोई परिवार के लोग बचे हैं क्या? न्यूटन के कोई लोग बचे हुए हैं क्या? मेरी क्यूरी के कोई लोग? वो तो इंटेलिजेंस से आ रहे हैं ना, right? Like even we can say Rabindranath Tagore, Nobel Prize फर्स्ट मिला हुआ था इंडिया का, इंटेलिजेंट, राइट? अभी जो अभिजीत भट्टाचार्य जी को नोबेल प्राइज मिला 2 साल पहले इकोनॉमिक्स का, अमर्त्य सेन साहब को इकोनॉमिक्स का प्राइज मिला, इनके भी बच्चे पोते ये भी इंटेलिजेंट हो गए। सो जीन्स, ओके, जस्ट आप उसको नोटिस करके रखो, आगे देखो क्या होता है। अब while being intelligent may be linked to poor eyesight, it is also connected with lot of health benefit. Now what they say that अगर आप intelligent हो तो आपकी eyesight खराब है, और आपकी eyesight खराब है तो आप चश्मा लगाओगे। It is a very delicate study, but it is very useful to understand the phenomena. लोग चश्मा क्यों लगाते हैं? So उसका इनिशियली आपने क्या उनका इंफ्रेंस किया था कि चश्मा लगाने वाले इंटेलिजेंट होते, ये उनके स्टडी का पर्पस था, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम था। सो उनको पता चला, चल इसकी आंखें खराब है बट उसके पॉजिटिव हेल्थ बेनिफिट भी है। कैसे? तो दे फाउंड नेगेटिव कोरिलेशन बिटवीन कॉग्निटिव फंक्शन एंड नंबर ऑफ हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम इंक्लूडिंग एंजीना, लंग कैंसर एंड डिप्रेशन। उन्होंने बोला जो लोग इंटेलिजेंट है, जिनकी आई साइट खराब है, जो चश्मा लगाते हैं, उनको ये हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम में निगेटिव कोरिलेशन, बाकी जो चश्मा नहीं लगाते उनसे वो अच्छे हैं। गॉट इट? नाउ मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट, These are simply correlation, not conclusive link. As a researcher, one must know that nothing is conclusive unless until you prove it and being accepted by the world, academic world at large. धरती गोल थी, ये किसने बोला था? हिस्ट्री में थोड़ा आपको है ज्ञान कुछ? पृथ्वी गोल है, संकल्पना कोणाची होती? Who said the earth is plate? नहीं, गैलीलियो नहीं.
गैलीलियो.
नहीं 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 नहीं. और आप पास हो, और जाओ, आगे जाओ.
पाइथागोरस
नहीं, अरे पाइथागोरस का तो थ्योरम है रे. कोपरनिकस, राइट? कोपरनिकस ने बोला अर्थ इज स्फेरिकल. क्या हुआ कोपरनिकस के साथ? उसको मार डाला. क्यों? क्योंकि तब जो राजा थे ग्रीक के, वो बोले धरती चौकोन है, अर्थ इज रेक्टेंगुलर, नॉट स्क्वायर, इट इज रेक्टेंगल. एंड कोपरनिकस सेड नो नो नो, इट इज स्फेरिकल एंड वी आर मूविंग अराउंड द सन. को पागल समझ के मार डाला. सो इन रिसर्च, unless and until your facts are accepted scientifically, till then they are only correlational, they are not conclusive. Keep in mind, आपको वो एक्सेप्ट करना है. आई टेल यू वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी, आप लोगों ने भी वो देखा होगा. दिसंबर 19 को 2019 में वुहान में पहला केस सामने आया कोविड का. अप्रैल 2020, इंडिया में तो हमने लॉकडाउन लगा दिया था 20 में, बट इंडिया में जो महम हुआ था वो हुआ था 2021 के अप्रैल और मई में. ओके, दैट टाइम हमारा मैसिव डेथ हुई थी. तो चाइना में क्या हुआ, दिसंबर 19 के बाद अप्रैल 2020 में पेपर पब्लिश हुआ. Those who are from science field, they can check that paper, and that paper categorically said those with the blood group O are more likely to get COVID virus attack. मैंने भी वो पेपर पढ़ा. मैंने कहा यार ये क्या लॉजिक है, वो वालों को क्यों मिल रहा है, ऐसा कुछ है क्या वो वायरस, ये ब्लड ग्रुप? और लोग डर गए, मतलब बिकॉज इट वाज fairly new kind of observation based on the Wuhan data only. अब मुझे ये बताइए, यहाँ पे हम कितने 100 लोग हैं, मैडम ने बोला हम 100. सबसे कॉमन ब्लड ग्रुप कौन सा है भैया? राइट, ओ. और
सर,
ओ को
पॉजिटिव.
ओ को हम क्या बोलते हैं? यूनिवर्सल डोनर. ओ किसको भी खून दे सकता है, राइट? लॉजिक मालूम होना चाहिए. तो फिर मैंने बोला यार, ऑफ कोर्स इसके ऊपर बहुत एकेडमिक इसके ऊपर ये हुआ कि ऑफ कोर्स अगर मैं 100 लोग लेके आऊंगा तो प्रोबेबिलिटी ऑफ गेटिंग ओ इज वेरी हाई. ओके, तो वो जो उन्होंने सैंपल लिया था वुहान स्टडी का, उसके प्रोबेबिलिटी के हिसाब से ओ के लोग ज्यादा हो गए. देन इसके ऊपर यूरोप से इसको काउंटर किया गया, एंड देन फाइनली इट वाज कंक्लूडेड दैट द वायरस अटैक इज इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ योर ब्लड ग्रुप. समझे ना? तो अबे पीछे बोल मत रे मेरे भाई, मेरे को सुनाई दे रहा है. वो फोन पे बात कर ते राजा बोलू नको. So irrespective of the blood group, the virus attacks, and they link it to the immunity. तो विकास जाधव साहेब म्यूट करा ना. हाँ, तो irrespective of the blood group, so होता है ये. These are non-conclusive link. Please keep in mind, right? आप लोगों ने जो शादी वगैरह की होगी तो वो क्या पत्रिका के गुण मिलाते हैं ना, 32-35, मुझे तो पता नहीं है कि वो जिनके पूरे 35 में से 35 मिलते हैं वो क्या 7 जन्म प्यार मोहब्बत में जीते हैं क्या? उनके तो 5वें दिन से लड़ाई चालू होती है. तो वो पत्रिका गुण पत्रिका 36, तो वो 36 वालों की क्या 7 जन्म एकदम खुशनुमान जिंदगी होती है क्या? नहीं. ये कोरिलेशन देखते हैं जो पंडित लोग होते हैं ना कि हाँ 36 में से 32 मिल गए, भिड़ा दो इनका टाका. वो कोरिलेशन है सब. Everything is correlated. These are not conclusive, right? I belong to a Purohit family. My father does that. But scientifically मैं बोलता हूँ कि ये आप कोरिलेट कर रहे हो, बाकी कुछ नहीं कर रहे हो. इसका साइंटिफिक एविडेंस कहीं नहीं है. So kindly make sure as a researcher you never conclude anything unless there is a evidence. Okay. So, and it's worth noting that what constitutes intelligence is subjective and can be difficult, if not impossible, to measure. How intelligence म्हणजे काय? अगर उसने बता दिया 5334 into 6789 equal to, is he intelligent? I don't know. Intelligence is very subjective, right? And how do we measure? That is, again, measurement is very important in social science. Science में तो आपके पास tools है, equipments है, calibration है, you can measure it. Remember. So there is plenty of empirical that wearing glasses, whether you need or not, make people think you are intelligent. And number of studies have found that people who wear glasses are perceived as smart, more dependable, industrious, and honest. Finish. So आपको ये ध्यान में रखना है कोरिलेशन, और कोरिलेशन की वैल्यू कितनी होती है रे बताओ तो। जो लोगों ने अपने नाम के सामने, हाँ,
+1 to -1.
+1 to -1, +1 का मतलब क्या है?
Positive correlation.
Positively correlated.
स्ट्रॉन्गली पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन। +1 मतलब स्ट्रॉन्गली, वो एक्सट्रीम एंड पे आ गया है ना, इसलिए हम वर्ड स्ट्रॉन्ग यूज करेंगे। वो अगर 0.2 होगा तो वो पॉजिटिव है, तो हम उसको मॉडरेटली पॉजिटिव बोलेंगे कि वो 0.2 तक ही है। +1 मतलब स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉजिटिव कोरिलेशन, -1 मतलब स्ट्रॉन्ग निगेटिव कोरिलेशन, एंड 0 मतलब नो रिलेशन। हाँ, याद रखो। सो ऑलवेज व्हाट वी डू इन अ पीएचडी, हम कोरिलेशन तो निकालते हैं यार, पी टेस्ट, टी टेस्ट, वन टेल एनोवा, टू टेल एनोवा, काल्पित। We only apply tests to the data, and based on the significance we conclude. That is very simple at academic level. PhD का थीसिस लेना बहुत आसान है। प्रैक्टिकल लेवल में आप काम करने जाओगे, राइट? तो when I look at the applicatory aspects of pharmaceutical industry में, थर्ड स्टेज कैंसर ड्रग का ट्रायल मैंने, मेरे फैमिली में भी किसको हुआ था रिसेंटली, so I became curious on that topic, and then I studied couple of things, and I said how they, because we are genetically, everyone is different, even twin brothers are different, and one medicine cannot be applied to the another medicine. अगर मैं एक दवाई लेता हूँ तो ये डॉक्टर वर्षा गोंदालिया, उनको वो दवाई काम में नहीं पड़ेगी। इसलिए आपने देखा होगा जो हमारे गांव में, शहरों में डॉक्टर होते हैं ना, वो बोलते हैं भैया ये दवाई ले लो, असर नहीं पड़ा तो 3 दिन में वापस आ जाओ, दवाई बदली करके दूंगा, बिकॉज डॉक्टर ऑल्सो नोज that same medicine will have a different outcome. आउटकम तो अल्टीमेटली आएगा, किसी को 2 दिन में आएगा, किसी को 3 दिन में आएगा, किसी को महीने भर में नहीं आएगा। तो फॉर कैंसर ड्रग स्पेशली, they do the study with consent on the people who are suffering through that particular stages, and then they formulate the the drug, because मैं खुद वो अपना जो क्या है, हमारे नागपुर में नेशनल कैंसर इंस्टीट्यूट है, तो आई वेंट देयर एंड सी कि फॉर एवरी पेशेंट द केमोथेरेपी ड्रग इज स्पेसिफिकली मेड। I spent hours and hours just, I don't understand anything about that, how they do it, but they told me, इनके लिए ऐसा बनेगा। So, of course, there is a lot of diversity, and these are all co-relational. There is no conclusion. Now, if you remember, the Russia has claimed सर्वाइकल कैंसर का उन्होंने वैक्सीन लाया है, जो वुमन में अभी अर्बन एंड रूरल एरिया में बहुत हो रहा है, स्पेशली रूरल एरिया में। A couple of years ago in Tiburi and Hinna area, I worked with some big industrial house in India and some doctors. मेरा अलग काम था, but I took doctor, and we found out of every 4 girl and woman, when I say girl means 15 and above, and woman without kid, with 1 kid, with 2 kid, with 3 kid, लगभग 33% सर्वाइकल कैंसर का। तो उन लोगों ने पैसे दे के वो इलाज तो करवाया, बट अभी वैक्सीन आ रहा है, सुना है मैंने, कैंसर का भी वैक्सीन आ रहा है, जस्ट लाइक वी टू कोविड वैक्सीन, राइट? बिफोर दैट नोबडी हैड आइडिया ये क्या है कोविड, बट उसका वैक्सीन बना, दुनिया भर के वैक्सीन बने, कोवैक्सीन, कोविशील्ड, और बाद में वो रशिया वालों ने स्पुतनिक बनाया, जो डॉक्टर एडीज ने लाया, फिर उधर अमेरिका जॉनसन एंड जॉनसन। तो This is applicatory research. Now, just to explain you कि जब साइंस में क्या होता है, every field is hot during some period of time. जैसे मैंने सोशल साइंस में बोला कि डाउरी वाज हॉट इन 80s and 90s in Maharashtra or Vidarbha, I would say. It is no more a hot topic. Similarly, in a scientific area or in science related area, it is evolving. Okay, so what was very hot in 1990, it peaked during 2008, 2009, and it is already becoming obsolete. Okay, so साइंस के लोग जब रिसर्च करते हैं तो अभी ये आपको देखना है व्हाट इज अ बज़वर्ड टुडे, एआई. हर कोई बोल रहा है एआई, आर्टिफिशियल. यहाँ आपको दिख रहा है क्या एआई ना? सो वैसे ही जब हम सोशल साइंस में आप लोग रिसर्च करते हो, जहां भी रहते हो आप हिंदुस्तान के जिस इलाके में, उस इलाके के ट्रेंड देखो और जो करंट ट्रेंड में है उसी को आप लीजिएगा. These information IEEE website publishes for every researcher in the field of science to know what is the current trend in the world, because science research is universal, whereas social science research is very much restricted or applicable to the specific area, locality, district, state, or even a country. Similarly, again the frequency which IEEE कंप्यूटर साइंस का रिसर्च अभी किस में हो रहा है, सी द येलो एल्गोरिदम, डेटाबेस मैनेजमेंट, राइट, द इंफॉर्मेशन साइंस, these are all publicly made available so that this is a trend, and this trend is almost 15 years old. Okay, I think if you go to IEEE now, probably you will get 2018 or 2020 का data वो अभी मिलेगा, because they collect this based on the number of papers published in a high impact journal, because it is an engine that will suck all the data from top journals in the world, and then they will say this is what people or researchers are writing research on that. Then there's a big network. When I say big network, means these are all interconnected. Again, these are only for your understanding. Okay, the important dot, the bigger the dot, the more important is a research topic. यहाँ देखिए bigger dot with bigger linkages, so it is even more important. Now you will say, sir, what about the audio, what about the debugging, what about the mobility? So as long as they are interconnected by light, you can do research on that. If they are standalone, like here, अब तो मुझे पढ़ना नहीं आ रहा ये क्या है, but here say network capacity, network security, it is linked. This guy is also linked. Okay, so when the people from science engineering area, they have to look at that. In our social science stream, these kind of linkages become difficult and no such formal explanation is available to best of my knowledge. So this was multimedia in 1995. जैसे हम 2001 में आ गए वो इंटरनेट में बदल गया, because it is evolving. So again, if somebody is doing research on multimedia, कोई मतलब नहीं है, अभी पूरा रिसर्च AI में हो रहा है. Even internet cluster is now obsolete by and large, but it has become a backbone of our day-to-day life, right? Now, research has to be smart. Okay, what do I mean that? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I would focus on M, measurable, quantifiable. Now, in social science, lot of students ask me, even government of Maharashtra has given us a small task, I think 2017 or 18, just before COVID, go and study the happiness index of fishermen on the coastal part of Ratnagiri. So we went. Prior to that, we were taught about the happiness index in Bhutan. Okay, how to calculate it is highly complex. We went, we studied, we published it. And then the government said that we cannot accept it. Fine. 6 months down the road, there is a body called what you call It is, I think, for all the tribal, TR or something. I forgot the short form. For all the tribals in Maharashtra, there's a body in Pune. And they called me and they said, sir, we have to do happiness index for the tribal. All tribals in Gadchiroli, Nandurbar, Thane, and whatever part of Eastern Vidarbha. Fine, we'll do it. But then the COVID came. So the budget was in 75. Because when we measure the happiness, we measure it only on the homogeneous. The moment society or sample become heterogeneous, it becomes irrelevant. So, अगर आप social science में कुछ measure, smile. So I went to 10 hotels in Nagpur, and I say in Radisson Blue, the receptionist has a greatest smile. Now I made a general statement. It may be my own bias, but if I can quantify that, okay, and quantification is a beauty. Those who are working in social science, kindly make yourself familiar with numerology, mathematics, and statistics. Because it is very to generalize something. But if I can quantify that, because after learning the happiness index, I firmly believe that everything can be quantified. Please make sure. Science में तो सब कुछ measured होता है, right? Okay. Time bound, why I said, because in PhD you are given 5 years to my best of my knowledge across India. Okay. Abroad it is 84 months, 7 years बाहर मिलते हैं. वो एक 2 साल उनका एक अलग होता है, उसमें आपका क्या बोलते हैं सिनॉप्सिस वगैरह पहले इसमें गिना जाता है वो. Okay. So we will just move a little bit forward. The scientific method, okay, develop the problem. First define it and delimit. Delimit म्हणजे काय? What do we mean by delimit? Delimit मतलब उसके across एक लक्ष्मण रेखा डाल देना, so that हम वो रेखा 5 साल में क्रॉस नहीं करेंगे. Okay, so given the time constraint, any work that you do, now the professional research that we are doing, एक थीसिस जो बच्चा 5 साल में करता है ना, हमको 180 days पे करना पड़ता है. But full time on the field, full time, 180 days on the field. So when you are doing research, unless you put boundaries to the area that you are exploring or try to explore, it becomes a humongous task in terms of time, resources, money, etc. So, हम delimit करते हैं. So, I'm studying something, I will say the study of something in the Nagpur district or in Vidarbha or in Maharashtra. That's it. Beyond that, if you go, then if you are doing something on India, then you will have to visit all these states, and it will be time consuming, provided you have the resources. Of course, as I said earlier, ironically, every researcher has to put forward the anticipated outcome, which we call it as hypothesis. And then, of course, we collect the data where we maximize internal and external validity. वो वैलिडिटी का सवाल जो था ना, ये पहला उसका हिंट है. ब्रायन 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 देखो बेटा क्या होता है.
Yes.
कई बार, say for example, I send Dr. Varsha to collect the data. I train her. I said, this is a format. Kindly ask this question. The data. Dr. Varsha गई नहीं, उन्होंने घर में बैठ के वो डेटा भर दिया. और मुझे आके बोला, हाँ सर, I went to Chhattisgarh. This is the data. I trusted on her, and I made use of that data. Okay. So now the validity of my data is in question. But the big issue is that I still trust that Dr. Varsha has given me the right data. Just like डॉक्टर आपको जब प्रिस्क्रिप्शन लिखते हैं ना, आप वो फार्मेसी को दिखाते हैं, वो जो देते हैं वो नेवर क्वेश्चन कि यार डॉक्टर ने क्या दिया है मुझे. आप ये मान के चलते हैं जो उसने दिया मैं ठीक हो जाऊंगा. सो रिसर्चर, हम अभी जब प्रोफेशनल रिसर्च करते हैं, MSW students, we train them and we get our questionnaire field data, whatever we need from the field because of quantum. Now, what happens if By mistake, by intention, if that data is nullified, then it could tweak the outcome. But Brian, the issue is that किसको पता चलेगा क्या हुआ है, right? किसको पता चलेगा? कई बार रिसर्चर ये बोलता है, who will know मैं फेल कर रहा हूँ? So sometimes the truth is out. Okay? So whether you are taking any data from the internet, or any data from any journal, or from any conferences, or through the field, kindly make sure the validity of that data, because it is one of the ingredient. ब्रायन, अगर मैंने आपको ऑर्गेनिकली बनाई हुई पत्ता गोभी फूल गोभी दी तो उसकी सब्जी बेस्ट बनेगी, पर मैंने आपको सड़ी हुई पत्ता गोभी फूल गोभी दी, सब्जी खराब होगी because of quality. So the validity of data will affect the outcome of your findings and interpretation. Of course, analysis and interpretation of data. I will quickly, यार कितने बज रहे हैं, 12:04 हुए ना, उनको थोड़ा आगे, ठीक है? So quickly we'll go through it. Select any area, okay? Say for example social science. Then select any topic, okay? Once you select the topic, you prepare a crude question कि भैया मुझे किस चीज पे रिसर्च करना है. Write it down. Once you prepare the crude question, go to the literature. Scholar.google.com और ये शोध गंगा, I don't know, may UGC या AICT के पास कई सारे databases है. Such, if you find the answer to the question, you don't need to do that particular study. Then you go and refine. But if you don't find the answer, okay, then you refine the question now. Okay. Once you refine your research question, you again go back to literature and see you get the answer or not. If you get the answer, no need to do it. Don't get it, then you proceed to the hypothesis, goal, and objective. Now, I'm going to say something which everybody of you should keep in mind forever if you want to do research. The title of your thesis or project is equal to aim, is equal to objective, is equal to hypothesis, is equal to statement of problem. एक अच्छे रिसर्चर की क्वालिटी इन 5 चीजों में दिखाई दी जाती है. They are all tied up somehow. You can make a linkage. Okay, so formation of hypothesis, goals, objective and research question. ये तो आ गए 4 और अपने टाइटल क्या दिया है वो 5. प्लीज कीप दिस इन माइंड. 80% बच्चे जो मैंने देखे गलती करते हैं, मत कीजिएगा, अच्छा नहीं लगता है. Then you come out with a design. Now this is a independent topic कि डिजाइन कैसे किया जाए. उसका एक सिंपल एग्जांपल आपको देता हूँ. लिटरेचर में जाके रिलेटेड, उससे रिलेटेड स्टडी कीजिएगा. जिस तरीके का डिजाइन, जिस तरीके का जियोग्राफी, जिस तरीके का होगा उनका, उन्होंने वो डिजाइन उसके लिए जस्टिफाई किया होगा. आपका जो सेटअप है, आप उसके लिए उसको मॉडिफाई कीजिए या वैसे का वैसा लेना वैसे कीजिए, ले सकते हो. ओके. देर आर ऑल्सो इथिकल इश्यूज होते हैं डिजाइन में. ये फार्माकोलॉजी वाले लोग चूहे को मार डालते हैं, बाकी के लोग पेशेंट के ऊपर ट्रायल वायल करते हैं. सो इथिकल इशू हैज टू बी टेकन इनटू कंसिडरेशन फॉर पीपल. हमारे सोशल साइंस में इथिकल इशू आते हैं कंसेंट. Now when we work with government is very particular that any data that we collect, there is a उसको क्या बोलते हैं, there is a word in Marathi, I'll try to translate. Means उसने अपने होश में consent दिया है. Now I can't go to any village and get a consent, so I go to Sarpanch and I get a consent from him that please give me consent that your villagers 100-150 household, I want to take a 30% sample. I need your consent. This is the government work and it will be used for your benefits only. It is not commercial data. So वो रिप्रेजेंटेशन देना पड़ता है. वैसे ही आप क्वेश्चनर जब पूछोगे किसी भी रिसर्च में, in a normal questionnaire there are more than 30 questions. So kindly tell the beneficiary कि सर ये आपके काम के लिए है या ये कंपनी स्पॉन्सर है, whatever. I go many times in the field and mostly out of Maharashtra because I work for some big cement companies in India and mostly we work for CSR. So I sit there wearing normal clothes, tell them that please tell me the honestly whatever you feel. Because he may tell the lie, he may tell the half truth, I don't know. But the way I will ask question will determine what kind of answer I get. Asking question and getting answer is a delicate issue, you know. In Bihar, they know that. Similarly, if a Bengali come to Vidarbha, they will know that she is not from Vidarbha region. So, वो आपको थोड़ा ध्यान में रखना है. Then population and sampling. Because again, Brian, here we talk about reliability. So, say you are 100 people, and I am asking you, how is our Prime Minister doing? All of you said he is doing excellent job. So tomorrow I made a headline. But what is my population? What is my sample? My sample is only 100. Okay. So out of 146 crore people, I asked only 100 people and I made a headline. Now that raises a question on reliability, Brian. So in a especially social science field, what we recommend, I tell you, we work for World Bank and United Nations. We have a specific rule: 5% of the say population of we have to take 5%. And across, मतलब नागपुर के 4 टुकड़े करना है, ईस्ट वेस्ट नॉर्थ साउथ, मेल फीमेल, then caste, open OBC SC NT VJ, then age, then education, then we are good to go. भैया ये अपना लो. उससे क्या होता है ब्रायन? Reliability of your research increases. What I have seen many a time, a doctoral candidate, he saw that e-commerce purchasing behavior of middle class woman. Good topic. But when I say, so you say I have taken all because the rich people live there, including me. I say, what about East? What about North? No. भैया आप में से जो भी कोई गाइड हो गए, कीप इन माइंड, मैप लेके 4 टुकड़े करके इक्वल प्रोपोर्शन में सैंपल लेना है. Because if there is a mistake in sampling, Brian, it raises question to reliability. Finish. I'm very particular about this because when we work for government, we are very much told about people and we exactly follow that because we are given lot of resources. PhD में हो सकता है आपके पास पैसा, टाइम तो होता है, पैसा नहीं होगा. सैम्पलिंग परफेक्ट कीजिए, सर्टिफाइड करना है, रैंडम करना है. इट इज अ इंडिपेंडेंट वर्ल्ड. ओ विलास महाजन साहब थांबा ना. सैम्पलिंग तो गलत पॉपुलेशन सैम्पलिंग में आपका रिलायबिलिटी क्वेश्चन में आएगा ब्रायन, याद रखना. देन ऑफ कोर्स आपके जो वेरिएबल्स है, ठीक है, आपका बायस एलिमिनेट करना है. Once that is done, you make the research tool. Now research tools are very simple. Okay, हम क्वेश्चनर बनाएंगे, वो भरवा लेंगे, हम टेलीफोन इंटरव्यू देंगे, we will take ओ सुनील उरुटकर, थांबा ना, और उरुटकर, ओ सुनील उरुटकर.
नाही ते मूल
अरे
सर
भैया,
केलं आणि मला म्हटलं होतं त्यांनी, पण ते मग मूलला दिलं म्हणते.
अरे वो सुन नहीं रहे यार, मेरे को उसका याद है. वो टिकट चाहिए क्या आपको इलेक्शन का? सुनील उरुटकर, बंद करो माइक.
मूल सरला दिलं म्हणे ना त्यांनी, आम्हाला काय सांगणार त्याच्या.
तो इधर फोकस ग्रुप डिस्कशन.
मूल सरनी बोलवलंच नाही का?
बंद करा तुम्ही.
आणि विलास राऊतनी दिली त्याला लिस्ट.
ये भारत का भविष्य.
तिकडे पुन्हा गेले त्याच्यातही म्हणते आता तुम्ही म्हणते किंमत लिहून आणा म्हणते त्याच्यात.
अरे बाबा तर त्यांनी
बंद करा
लिस्ट दिली म्हणे तो बोलणार होते. मला राऊत म्हणे आमच्यातला.
त्यांना ऐकू येत नाही का? कोणाचा नंबर असेल त्यांना सांगा.
त्याच्यात आता पुन्हा प्रिन्सिपल सरांकडे गेले, त्याच्यात
जाने दो, जाने दो.
आपल्या लायब्ररीवर
आले का ते?
आता सध्या 2 वेळेस झाले
ओके,
कोणत्या हे वाजे मॅडम म्हणे हे मी म्हणलं सर जेव्हा इंटरनेटशी बोलत तुम्ही फोन काट केले होते सर
Then
तेच हे काय
most important is a pilot study.
हो का
Make
म्हणे?
sure that whatever
त्याच्यामध्ये आता किंमत
You are
मोबाईल घेऊन काय
pointing
घ्यायचं
out
आम्ही ऑनलाईन लक्ष
हा,
ठेवायला
हा, हा.
outcome of your pilot
मी
study
म्हणलं म्हणून सरांना
are close to the your own hypothesis, right? So pilot study kar lo. If the outcome are not close, then you tweak any one of these or more than one of these, right? Then once it is done, make a plan how you are going to collect the data, conduct the experiments. Many a time, the science students ask me, sir, I'm getting more tolerance. How many times? There is no limit. One time, two times, 10 times. You are consuming. See, get it? So science experiment, there is no limit. But for social science, of course, we go to a domain, and as we said in India, every 10 mile the language and the focus changes. So we may not get like the science getting relevant. So somebody can.
Sir, voice is intermittently breaking, sir.
येतोय का आवाज?
Sir, मधामधात आवाज नाही येत आहे. Other participants,
हो का?
can you hear sir properly?
No, the
No,
voice is
madam.
actually
No, ma'am.
going in and out. Yeah, you
Yes,
can't
yes.
hear it in between.
नाही आवाज पण खूप कमी आहे मॅडम.
हा, wait.
येतोय? आता बघा. Is it audible now?
Yes, you are audible now,
सर,
sir.
आवाज
येते सर आता येते आवाज.
Okay. So prepare a work plan, okay, by week, by fortnight, or by month, and then after that you start collection of the data. Now this is important. Many a time it is in the mind of researcher is that once data is collected, he thinks that his dissertation or work is over. In fact, it is wrong. Actual work starts from there because the most important aspect is to manage the data. What we call it as, uh, data sanitation. That means to clean the data. If there are some errors, duplicate responses, so we sanitize the data and then we do the coding of the data. It is not necessary that every researcher should be familiar with this thing, but they can also go to the, like in our Nagpur, we have a statistics department. You can take help from, the faculty, the student, and even the professionals are there. So data management is fairly easy, but you must understand how it is being managed. Then the interpretation of the data. Okay. Now I will come to interpretation part later on. And of course, based on the interpretation, we do the reporting, what we call it as a conclusion and all scope for further research. And so. Now, interpretation is a very judgmental in social science. हे लक्षात ठेवा. Whereas in science, A plus B bracket square, it will be the same, come what may. Okay. In science experiment, the interpretation can be due to the poor knowledge, the poor judgmental error. But in social sciences, the interpretation could be 100% false judgment or the bias. Okay. So we have to be very, very cautious, which I will come to the next one. इसको जाने दो qualitative and quantitative because अभी कितना यार 15 मिनट. So in quantitative, keep in mind the truth is out there. सच्चाई कहीं पे तो है और मैं वो सच्चाई के पास जाने की कोशिश करूंगा. But this is mostly the science field. Qualitative, social science में there is a multiple truth. So just like the Vadodara women are diabetic, that doesn't mean Nagpur is diabetic or Pune or Hyderabad is diabetic. So there are multiple truth. And as I said earlier, the data can be analyzed through informed judgment. आप अगर इन्फॉर्म नहीं होगे तो आपका जजमेंट खराब होगा ना यार. वो जज क्या करते हैं, वो पूरी केस सुनते हैं और उसके बाद जजमेंट देते हैं, उसको इन्फॉर्म जजमेंट बोलते हैं हम. सुनेगा तभी वो जजमेंट देगा ना। तो आप क्वालिटेटिव में unless and until you have a command on that topic, merely passing a judgment, I have seen many people do it. I can only feel sad or I laugh about it. But if somebody outside India, if they read your work, they will say what kind of shabby work the people are doing. So this is more critical actually. Science का तो बहुत अच्छा है, but social science में your judgment has to be informed. Keep in mind, okay? So in qualitative, basically it is text-based, whereas quantitative is a number-based that we all know. Qualitative is less generalizable. Quantitative is more generalizable. Many a time in qualitative, little or no statistical tests are used, but in quantitative, they are used for the purpose of analysis. Now, the next we will discuss on the next slide is that qualitative is basically, it is an inductive process, whereas quantitative is a deductive process, which I will explain you on the next slide. Okay. In qualitative, you focus on, you collect the data based on the FGD, focus group, in-depth interview, or review of literature. Here, quantitative, you have the survey, the structured interview, the observation, and the review of records or documents for numeric information. So, in a nutshell, quantitative means number, qualitative means text. ये ध्यान में रखो. Now, the approach for the research are deductive and inductive. So, what deductive does, we use a logic from general to specific. Okay, and in inductive, we do exactly opposite, from specific to general. And integration of deductive and inductive becomes the scientific method that we are using today. Now, on the next slide, I will clear that to you, what is deductive and inductive. Okay, so I'm observing now that the butterflies in India, the cities of India, the butterflies are slowly becoming less and less and less. So my observation, then I studied the pattern, why it is happening, when it is happening, what could be the reason for that, and then I created a tentative hypothesis. And after significant research, I formulated a theory, a butterfly disappearance. So this process is called inductive reasoning, where you start with the observation. ग्लोबल वार्मिंग क्या है, ऑब्जर्वेशन से तो आया हुआ है ना, तो थ्योरी बनी है ना उसकी. देयर आर टू स्कूल्स ऑफ थॉट, एक बोलता है हो रहा है, एक बोलता है नहीं हो रहा है, एक बोलता है गर्म हो रहा है, एक बोलता है ठंडा हो रहा है. देखिए, सो दिस इज वेरी पावरफुल फॉर्म ऑफ रिसर्च. इट टेक्स लॉट ऑफ टाइम. अगेन, से फॉर एग्जांपल डॉक्टर फुलमंते भगवत, इन्होंने कोई थ्योरी बनाई. ओके, तो वो थ्योरी को डॉक्टर विठल थावरी चैलेंज करेंगे. थ्योरी एक फॉर्म में एक्सेप्ट नहीं की जाएगी. थ्योरी विल बी चैलेंज बाय पीयर्स, एकेडमिक पीयर्स, एंड देन इट विल बी क्रिस्टलाइज. नाउ से फॉर एग्जांपल somebody say that no, the theory of gravity is fake, not correct. They wanted to test that. So he prepared the hypothesis, he conducted the experiment, and he said whether Sir Isaac Newton, right? So deductive reasoning is used for testing the theory. ऐसा ख्याल में रखता है, ये टेस्टिंग के लिए यूज होता है, ये फॉर्मुलेशन के लिए यूज होता है. To me, both are powerful, but I am slightly biased towards the inductive because it takes a lot of time to prepare a theory. Okay, imagine Einstein की जो theory, कितना टाइम लगा, right? हम सब उसको इस्तेमाल, everything is guided. Okay, all research is guided. So formulation will be new. Okay, now come to type of research. अरे यार, मैं थोड़ा 5. So as I said earlier, fundamental and applied, that we know. Now, this basic research, we again break it down. normal and revolutionary. Okay. Now, if you take all the universities in India and you study the which have been or up to 99 or 98% you find it normal research. एक परसेंट चांस है रिवॉल्यूशनरी रिसर्च का किया जा सकता है, राइट? नाउ नॉर्मल रिसर्च कैसा किया जाता है? विद द सेट ऑफ रूल्स जो मैंने एवरी वर्क जो उसके प्री सेट रूल होते हैं. आपकी 2 मिनट चलती है, मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, राइट? एसी चल रहा है, उसकी भी थ्योरी है, सेट ऑफ रूल concept again
आवाज नाही येत आहे.
which is well accepted by scientists. आवाज येतोय का बेटा?
नाही सर, कटून जातो आवाज मध्ये मध्ये.
अरे इथे नेटवर्क येतोय का बेटा? बघ येतोय. मी थोड़ा त्या नेटवर्कच्या जवळ जातो. सो नॉर्मल रिसर्च जो है ना, वो जो साइंटिस्ट लोगों ने अब तक थ्योरी बनाई है उसके ऊपर काम चलता है. अगर इफ आई में से पीएचडी में 100% काम हमारा इसमें होता है, राइट? नाउ इन एडिशन the basic and applied research can be qualitative or quantitative or even both. As we seen in the previous slide, our research is a combination of both, right? This one, scientific method में हम दोनों लेते हैं, qualitative, quantitative and deductive, inductive, which is a mixed research. Now, here, for example, we investigate the basic principles and reason for occurrence of particular event or process or phenomena. It is called as theoretical research. Again, theoretical research becomes the backbone of our scientific research. Okay. The second aspect is that any investigation of natural phenomena relating to pure science is called as basic research. आपकी जानकारी के लिए. And the basic research may or may not lead to the immediate application. It is not mandatory or necessary that anything coming out of basic research will be applicatory. But it is not concerned with solving practical problems of the immediate interest, but it is original or basic in character. Okay, that's why it is called as fundamental research. वो बॉम्बे में है ना, टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ फंडामेंटल रिसर्च, TIFR. Okay, so basic research is equally important and it provides deep insight into a problem and it helps to build new frontiers of knowledge. ये थोड़ा आप knowledge के लिए रखो. What it does, it seeks generalization. मतलब in other words, I would say loosely acceptance. So people understand it and then people accept it. Aims at the basic processes, explain why this happened, collect all the facts and report in the technical language of the topic. Then we come to the applied research. Okay, so we solve certain problems by employing the theories and principles which are widely acceptable in the scientific world. जैसे मैंने बोला, मेरे दोस्त का बेटा 1 साल का बैटरी का रिचार्ज करने वाला फोन बना रहा है, बैटरी बना रहा है, सॉरी. तो वो प्रिंसिपल है, चार्जिंग, केमिस्ट्री के प्रिंसिपल हो गए, फिजिक्स के हो गए, मोलिकुलर इसके हो गए. सो इट इज नॉट रॉकेट साइंस, बट दे आर trying to extend the application of existing, probably material science, कोई नया material आएगा, right? Then most experimental research, okay, or even case studies and interdisciplinary research are essentially applied research. Okay, whenever you do experiment or interdisciplinary are loosely called as applied research. Okay, it is helpful for basic research. Okay, and the research which is the outcome of which is immediate application is also termed as applied research. जो हम दवाइयाँ देखते हैं, जो भी चीजें हम इस्तेमाल करते हैं, it is also called as applied research. Okay, here it studies individual or specific cases. Okay, and the objective is not to generalize. They take particular event, particular cases. Okay, say for example, recently बायोलॉजी का कोई केस था, they found something very unusual in one particular, and they said it is challenge to the science कि ऐसा हो नहीं सकता, because there is a lot of unknown factors or very little information is available about the particular phenomena. So they are exploring it, which I will discuss next slide. Okay, aims at any variable which makes desired difference. Now, in the process of research, we are talking about dependent and independent variable. Okay, so while conducting a research, okay, you are looking at a particular variable, and you are seeing that if that particular variable which makes or which contributes to the desired difference, then in applied research, that particular thing is identified and captured. Okay, and then it also, जिसको हम dynamics कहते हैं, how things can be changed, and then try to correct the fact which are problematic. So just like वो कोरिलेशन का केस बताया था, O+ वालों को कोविड होता है, ऑफ कोर्स वो तो फैक्ट करेक्ट हो गया, वो प्रॉब्लमेटिक नहीं था, वो इंटरप्रिटेशन उसका पेपर का रॉन्ग था, बट मेनी अ टाइम यू नो इन एप्लीकेटरी रिसर्च, फॉर एग्जांपल पहले 3 पिन का कंसेप्ट नहीं था, शॉक लगता था, सो देन अर्थिंग देने के बाद, नए इलेक्ट्रिकल गैजेट बनाने के बाद, दैट वो प्रॉब्लम एलिमिनेट किया गया, राइट? सो अप्लाइड रिसर्च, इफ देयर इज एनी प्रॉब्लम, it can be through the research, they will correct the fact and they will try to reincorporate and then reports in a common language. Now here again, we have seen that, and the mix basically, the research that we conduct has to be mixed of qualitative and quantitative. Okay, always remember, quantitative is a conclusive, whereas qualitative is exploratory, which is only the additional point that we are discussing what we have seen before. Now in exploratory, you just go to the literature, okay, or just do the focus group. Like in Andaman, that tribe is there, right? They don't allow any human contact with the world. There are also very unique tribes in Bastar in India also. So if you want to explore something, even FGDs, in-depth FGDs are also acceptable. Now, the exploration of new phenomena in this way may help the researcher need for better understanding. Okay, because you wanted to enhance your knowledge, enhance your understanding of the particular phenomena, and then, of course, based on that, you will determine the which method will be suitable, and if there are subsequent studies to be done, what parameters to be looked at. Okay, so in broad, it is broad in focus and rarely provide definite answer. You are only exploring. Okay, so इसका objective होता है find the key issue and variable.
बस ये नेम एड्रेस लिखवा के दो, फोन
Objective
नंबर
is to identify key issues and variable. अरे फोन वाले चालू हुए क्या फिर से? Then come the descriptive. Descriptive में क्या होता है? It is directed towards studying what and how many of this what. That's it. Second, thus it is directed toward answering the questions such as what is this? That means explaining the phenomena. And what means how many types of phenomena are there? How many of the what's are there? Okay, so descriptive research. Then explanatory, not expert, explanatory. So basically, here they will try to understand or explain the relationship. Okay, so of course, in global warming, we can also explain the relationship. The higher temperature, higher carbon dioxide means higher greenhouse effect, means higher temperature, means melting of snow caps, change of weather pattern due to change in ocean temperature. That's why we have La Nina and El Nino effect. आप अगर आज से 20 साल पहले जाके देखोगे तो ला नीना अल नीनो की इतनी बात नहीं होती थी, right? So in explanatory research, you get the chance to understand or explain the relationship to the audience. Okay, and it is extensively based on correlation. Okay, तो आप बोलोगे सर इसके पहले तो आपने बोला था कंक्लूसिव नहीं होता है कोरिलेशन. एब्सोल्युटली. But here they are trying to explain, just like that research paper, they were trying to explain you. So ये based होता है correlation पे, and it explains how the parts of phenomena are related to each other. Okay, one particular अगर phenomena हो रहा होगा, हाँ, तो I tell you one thing, I have seen one documentary. हमारे धरती पे ऑक्सीजन कितना है बताओ? ऑक्सीजन कितना है? तो सांगा ना किती आहे ऑक्सिजन आपल्या पृथ्वीवर?
Around 21%.
अब मुझे ये जवाब किसने दिया अभी? कौन
Yes,
किसने
sir.
दिया? हाँ, ब्रायन. ब्रायन मुझे ये बताओ, ऑक्सीजन अगर 21% है तो ऑक्सीजन कम क्यों नहीं होता?
कम क्यों नहीं होता?
हाँ,
कम ज्यादा
21 का 20 क्यों नहीं
मतलब
होता? 20 का 19 क्यों नहीं होता?
एक इक्विलिब्रियम है जो हमारा फ्लोरा फौना है धरती पे, और जो प्रोसेसेस है वो एक इक्विलिब्रियम पॉइंट पे है अभी अभी फिलहाल. आगे पता नहीं क्या होगा. हो सकता है कि वी drastically affect the planet so that that equilibrium is destroyed.
Very good. So what Brian said is very correct. What it's a documentary on YouTube, you can see it. उन्होंने ये बोला है कि धरती पे 8 बिलियन लोग रहते हैं. हम लोग कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड हम निकालते हैं, एक्सेल करते हैं, और हम पेड़ काटे हमने. तो धरती जब बनी थी तब ऑक्सीजन इतना ही था, और अभी CO2 बढ़ रहा है तो ऑक्सीजन कम क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? तो दे लिंक इट डाउन टू द अमेज़न फॉरेस्ट. ये मैं जब ऑन साइट नागपुर में जब PhD के सेशन करता हूँ ना, ये मैं सवाल देता हूँ पहले दिन बच्चों को, ढूंढो. तो ब्रायन इज राइट, हम वो ब्रेक करने के पॉइंट पे आए हुए हैं, और जिस दिन वो ये हो जाएगा, वी नो. सबसे पहले कौन मरेगा मालूम क्या? पानी के नीचे जो लोग रहते हैं ना, समुन्द्र में जो एनिमल्स रहते हैं, वहां पे ऑक्सीजन नहीं जा रहा है ऑलरेडी, उनको ऊपर आना पड़ेगा. आई एम नॉट ए मरीन बायोलॉजिस्ट और समथिंग, बट वो मुझे डरावना लगा. तो एनीवे, ये एखादी थ्योरी या फिनोमिना के पार्ट कैसे लिंक होते हैं, केवल पेड़ लगाने से या EV कार चलाने से या पावर प्लांट बंद करने से ऑक्सीजन बढ़ने नहीं वाला. देयर आर मल्टीपल पार्ट्स टू द थ्योरी व्हाई दिस इक्विलिब्रियम इज मेंटेन्ड, एंड एक्सप्लेनेटरी रिसर्च आस्क्स द व्हाई क्वेश्चन. ओके, ये बेनिफिट को छोड़ दो, अभी इधर आ जाओ, दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट. हमको ऑलरेडी 5 मिनट, मॅडम अजून 5 मिनिटं द्या, संपत आलाय. सो while conducting any research, be it a PhD, be it a professional, be it anything, okay, try to find the at least couple of gaps here. First, knowledge. कि मेरे टॉपिक जो मैं काम कर रहा हूं, ठीक है, इसके ऊपर कितना काम हुआ है एकेडमिक वर्ल्ड में, इसके बारे में कितनी जानकारी है, कितने लोगों ने इसको एक्सप्लोर किया हुआ है. ये सिंपल हो गया. देन एविडेंस गैप. ओके, अब दिस इज, आई वुडंट से ट्रिकी और डिफिकल्ट और इम्पॉसिबल, बट you come out with something and it contradicts the existing research. The latest example I am giving you, शक्कर खाने से डायबिटीज नहीं होता, तंबाकू खाने से कैंसर नहीं होता, ये जॉन हॉपकिंस का पेपर है. सो इट कॉन्ट्राडिक्ट्स एग्जिस्टिंग रिसर्च. मेडिकल साइंस में बहुत सारी चीजें आ रही है बिकॉज आवर लाइफस्टाइल हैव चेंज. हम माइक्रोप्लास्टिक कंज्यूम कर रहे हैं. मैं आई वाज इन लखनऊ टू मीट सम एक्सपर्ट. मैंने यूपी में काम किया. पूरे आदिवासी लोगों को डायबिटीज हो गया जो दिन भर दिहाड़ी करते हैं, और सबको शुगर हो गया बिकॉज ऑफ माइक्रोप्लास्टिक. सो वो एविडेंस गैप आता है. देन मेथोलॉजिकल गैप, ऑफ कोर्स. ओके, सो anything that you are currently working on, okay, so existing method for your topic are insufficient. Okay, so method का gap है. Then empirical data, there is no limited data for your topic, which is fine. A practical knowledge gap. Okay, so कई बार क्या होता है, there is a disconnect between theory and practice. Okay, so उसके कई एग्जाम्पल हम दे सकते हैं कि थ्योरी में होता है बट प्रैक्टिस में ये हो रहा है. सो whenever selecting a topic, kindly ensure that it will not go into a trap of practical knowledge gap. Okay, theoretical is very important. Many times the papers are rejected because of that. The explanation that which you are putting forward, theoretical, as I said in earlier slides, everything is based on theoretical. Research is based on theories. Okay, so when we are formulating a theoretical framework, okay, if you are unable to explain it adequately, there will be a theoretical gap. Put it simplistically, आपको आपके टॉपिक से रिलेटेड पूरे थ्योरियों का ज्ञान होना चाहिए. Then population gap. So again, as I told Brian, that reliability. Okay, so population is not fully or correctly represented in existing research. आप बोल रहे हो कि मैं गोंड, माडिया, ट्राइबल, ये ट्राइब्स है हमारे यहाँ महाराष्ट्र में, गोंड और माडिया, उनके ऊपर आप रिसर्च कर रहे हो, राइट, बट आपने उनका फुल जस्टिफिकेशन नहीं दिया उनके पॉपुलेशन को. आपने 5%, 8% डेटा लेके आपने काम चले. नो, इट इज अ पर्पसिव सैम्पलिंग. आप सबसे मिलो जाके, कितने होंगे वो. तो कई बार बिकॉज ऑफ रिसर्चर्स बायस एंड एबिलिटी टू टेक शॉर्टकट, गैप आ जाती है which is linked to your reliability of A, and then the data gap. So sometimes the data which you find in ShodhGanga or any google.scholar.com, it is insufficient to address the research question. ये मेरे साथ एक बार हुआ था. ब्रिक्स, आपको अगर पता होगा, BRIC, इसका जब फॉर्मुलेशन हुआ था तब मैंने एक पेपर लिखा था. तो वो जर्नल ने, यूके का जर्नल, बोले वी डोंट नो ये आप क्या लिख रहे हो. तो बहुत झंझट की, मैंने बहुत झगड़ा किया. फिर 1.5 साल बाद उन्होंने उसको पब्लिश किया. बोले वी डोंट नो ये क्या हो रहा है, देयर इज नो डेटा. वो इकोनॉमिक्स का पेपर था एनीवे. सो एनीथिंग, से फॉर एग्जांपल कोविड के पहले कोई इस टाइप का मालूम नहीं था कि इम्यून रिलेटेड ऐसी बीमारियां आ सकती है. सो साइंटिफिक पेपर जो होते हैं मेडिसिन के, मेडिकल साइंस के, सो आपके को डेटा मिलेगा ही नहीं आप. बट टुडे इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट ल्यूकेमिया और एनी टाइप ऑफ कैंसर, there is enough data available, but COVID के लिए data available नहीं था. But anyway, we managed to tackle that, and through the research we could get all people vaccinated on time. So data gap आती है. ये लिटरेचर को छोड़ दो, इसको जाने दो. So मैडम एक 5 मिनट.
हाँ, how many slides are remaining, sir?
बस 2-3 है, कंक्लूजन ला लो. कोई
Okay,
भी
sir.
टॉपिक लेने से पहले आप वो टॉपिक क्यों ले रहे हो, आपने कुछ प्री एक्सप्लोर प्रॉब्लम एरिया चेक किया है क्या, आपका प्रॉब्लम एरिया क्या होगा, आपके स्टडी के बाद कौन सा एरिया ओपन हो जाएगा, मैंने पुराने लोगों का रिसर्च देखा है क्या, फिर मैंने टाइटल बनाया क्या, मेरा रिसर्च का डिजाइन कैसा होगा, और मेरा लिटरेचर में कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन इस टाइप का होगा. ठीक है, ये छोड़ दो. ये मैंने आपको बता दिया है. आपका टाइटल ऑफ योर थीसिस इज इक्वल टू एम, इज इक्वल टू ऑब्जेक्टिव, इज इक्वल टू हाइपोथेसिस, इक्वल टू स्टेटमेंट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम. ये 5 के 5 ये लिंक होने चाहिए. आपका स्टेटमेंट एज क्लियर एज पॉसिबल. इंफॉर्मेशन लेते समय हाउ मच यू वांट, कोई डिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं देता है यूजीसी वाले. आप 500 पन्ने लिखो या 300 पन्ने लिखो, अमेरिका में तो 6-8 पन्ने वाले को भी डॉक्टरल डिग्री मिलती है. बट वाइल पुटिंग फॉरवर्ड योर वर्क, किसी भी टाइप का रिसर्च हो, पीएचडी का हो, प्रोफेशनल हो, कुछ भी हो, रिसर्च पेपर हो, आपको कितना फैक्ट फिगर स्टैटिस्टिक्स चाहिए, आपको कितने पन्ने का इंट्रोडक्शन देना चाहिए, आपका इंफॉर्मेशन कितना करंट होना चाहिए, आपको कितना डेप्थ में जाना है, कितना हॉरिजॉन्टल जाना है, एंड देन कंफ्लिक्टिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू लीजिए. आई स्ट्रांगली रिकमेंड कंफ्लिक्टिंग पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू लीजिए. यू ऑफन सी पेपर, 80% of the love marriage couple are happily married. But अभी जो पेपर पब्लिश हो रहे हैं, 80% लव मैरिज कपल आर गेटिंग डिवोर्स. ये रियलिटी है, राइट? जो फैमिली कोर्ट से डेटा मिलता है. आई हैव सीन सम papers. Of course, you have to come out with something which is backed by the fact. We are not only trying to contradict something or conflict something because we want to know, but always have that point of view. encyclopedia, library, database, Google Scholar and AI tools आए. Actually मैंने वो slides आना भूल गया. I will share that slide with madam, because for literature review, there's an AI tool available right now for English language at least. Okay. While you take information from website, okay, or any book, make sure the author is credible. Make sure the research or the publication is authentic. It is peer reviewed. It is scholarly. Make sure that. Then use it. Of course, you have to cite the reference. You will not be blamed even if you take some garbage book or journal. But kindly don't go for the quality. Okay. So ये thesis का definition है. And this is what you start with: abstract, introduction, literature review, method, key finding, additional result, conclusion, and scope for the future research. So every step has its own description, and whether it is PhD thesis or professional research, we follow the same method. Okay, ये format को छोड़ दीजिए. So the basic research and the method and step is important if you have to design the research methodology, right? So just like डॉक्टर आपको पहले चेक करेगा फिर ही दवाई देगा ना, और दवाई देने से पहले पूछेगा आपको एलर्जी है क्या, पूछेगा. So once you know आपको क्या है, then they will. So here also, once you understand the broader scope of research world, then you can come out with RM. The research is driven by information. Brian, again, if the information is wrong, the reliability and validity can be in question. वो इंफॉर्मेशन फिर जर्नल की हो, डेटा हो, गवर्नमेंट कुछ हो, क्वेश्चन में आता है. स्पेशली वी वर्क फॉर गवर्नमेंट. आई कैन से ऑन रिकॉर्ड, मोस्ट ऑफ द डेटा आई हैव सीन, मेजॉरिटी इज नॉट सीन ऑन द ग्राउंड. सरकारी आंकड़े कुछ और है, हमको कुछ और दिखता है. सो हमारे रिसर्च की वैलिडिटी वो बोलते हैं कि वैलिड नहीं है क्योंकि उनके आंकड़े वैसे है. सो जोकिंग अपार्ट, it is information driven. Make sure you handle that information. It has to be current. Try to make sure it is reliable information and keep it simple and focus. Make mistakes. I have made several mistakes. I'm still making mistakes. Okay. So if you make mistake, you learn something. You learn something, you move forward. Okay. कोई आइंस्टाइन साहब ने भी पहले अटेम्प्ट में सेंचुरी नहीं बनाई, ना ही वो कौन सा वैभव सूर्यवंशी पहले अटेम्प्ट में आउट हुआ, फिर बनाई, फिर 2-4 बार आउट हुआ, फिर बनाएगा. सो इट इज लर्निंग प्रोसेस एंड कीप अ रिसर्चर इन यू अवेक 24/7. ऑब्जर्व, अंडरस्टैंड, ट्राई टू कंसेप्चुअलाइज, एंड दैट्स इट. थैंक यू फॉर लिसनिंग. थोड़ा लंबा हो गया, बट एक्चुअली इट इज 2.5-3 आवर का होता है, बट इट्स ओके. 90 मिनट. अगर 1-2 सवाल हो गए तो पूछिएगा, otherwise sorry to take your time because you will be getting late for next schedule.
No, sir, but it was a very nice session. You have compiled all the contents related to research, process, and types of research. It was a wonderful session, sir. Friends, any
Yes.
query?
नाही मॅडम, खूप छान सेशन झालं.
Yes, सगळ्यांना खूप सारा कंटेंट खूप इम्पॉर्टंट होतं.
मराठीत तर अजून मजा आली असती. आता इंग्रजी बोलायला
हा, येस सर,
सगळे
पण
लोक
खूप सारे
येतात ना,
पार्टिसिपेंट सर बाहेरचे आहे महाराष्ट्राच्या.
बाहेरचे असतात, नाही तर मराठीत आपण सोप्या
And
भाषेत
this
समजून
batch
सांगतो.
consists of so many South Indians and West
Yeah,
Bengal
that's why
participants.
even Hindi sometimes becomes a trouble. But I, being a Marathi, I love my mother tongue and I can
Yes, sir,
express it
yes.
simplistically in my mother tongue.
But it was a nice session, sir. So if there are no questions, we will wind up our session here.
Yes.
I extend my sincere thanks to respected Atale sir. Once again, in spite of your busy schedule, you have given one
Yes.
slot for the
I'm in
session. Thank you
Pune.
so
Yeah,
much, sir,
yeah.
for that.
Yes. Thank you so
sir.
much
Thank you
and
so
all
much
the
once
best.
again.
All the best.
छान सेशन झालं.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
सर,
Thank you, friends. You please proceed for your lunch break. We will meet at 1:30 sharp and for our next session. And after post lunch, you will be having 2 sessions in continuation till 4:30. So be prepared for that. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.